Hi everyone. Today I'm going to use standard printer paper, so in my case A4, and I'm going to make a one sheet wonder, and I'm using a steampunk theme. So here's my first sample. I've used a lovely fibre on the side and just a string closure. There's the back cover and that's the front cover, and if I open it up, there's a corner pocket on this left hand side with a couple of bits of ephemera in it. I've left that picture plain, but you could always decorate that page. When you open it up this way, there's 20 pages of note paper to write on, and I've just clipped that closed just to keep it out of the way. So that's it open. Then if you open the next section, I've got a magnetic closure there with a couple of pockets. So there's one of the pockets, a little piece of ephemera, just a few things tucked in there. And again down the bottom, a nice piece of paper tucked in there, and that's got a magnet to close it. On this side there's a side pocket with a couple of bits of ephemera in it. And then when you open it all the way out, this panel's got a few bits of paper tucked in under a belly band, and then there's another pocket in the back. So you can decorate them any way you like, but it's nice just to be able to use something that you print out without having to worry about buying scrapbook paper. And here's another example. So this one, I've got an open spine with a couple of little bands that wrap around it, and I've just used brads to decorate that. So there's the back of it. This paper was the Making Masterboards with scraps, and I photocopied it, so that's what that is. And I've just decorated it with a little piece of black cardstock and a piece of ephemera and a label. And it's got a little Velcro closure when you open it up. This one, I watched a video made by Ro on YouTube, and she did a 12 by 12 one sheet wonder in a similar style. So I just used her inspiration and changed it for an A4. So there's a pocket there full of ephemera. When you open it this way, you've got a triangular pocket there. Just a paper clip with an envelope and a ticket there. This way you've got, again, a nice journal. You've got some ephemera tucked in under a belly band, which I've put a few stamps on. A ticket and just some tea-dyed paper there. And when you open it again, you've got another belly band with a couple of clocks and a side pocket with some ephemera tucked in it. So there's the two samples. To make it is pretty simple. So I've just got a piece of 250 GSM cardstock. This is A4, and I've chosen, this is the pink journal paper and the pink scrapbook paper. And regardless of whether you're using A4 or US letter, you just want to cut it in half lengthways. So for A4, that is 4 1/8, which is my case. And if you're using US letter, that would be 4 1/4. So I'm just going to cut that in half. And you get your two pieces. One of these pieces is going to be cut into 3 rectangles, so you need to decide what your front cover would be before you choose which piece. And so let me show you on the example. So now we've got our two halves. You've got a front piece, a back piece, and a piece that's used for pockets and scrap. So I'm going to cut that all from one, and then the other piece, this other long piece, will be this trifold that goes in there. So in my case, I'm going to have that as my front cover. So I want to cut that piece is my front cover, so my 3 pieces from here need to be 3.5 inches in width. So I've got 1, and then I think I'll have that side as my back cover, again at 3.5. So that's my front cover, that's my back cover, and then this piece I'm just going to leave whole for the minute because that can be scrap. This piece is going to be the trifold. So again, if I show you this, the trifold's got a front facing piece, a middle section and a back section. So just figure out which end of the paper you like the best. So in my case, I think I'll have this, so I'll score from this end. So I'm going to score at 3.5 and 7. 3.5 and 7. And then the whole thing needs to be 10.5 in length, so I'm just going to slide that down to 10.5 and cut the end off, which will be scrap. So I've got it scored at 3.5 and 7, and then I need to just fold that into a Z shape, and that's going to be, if I open it up, that's going to be my front, and when I open it up, this is going to adhere to the back cover, and you can see there that I've just got a 1/2 inch score where I've adhered this piece to the back cover. So now that everything's cut, you've got your front cover, which you could have either side, whatever works for you. You've got your back cover, and then you've got your trifold. So when you have it attached to your back cover, you want to fold it so that it does open to the right. So when it's sitting in the book, that's the side that I want my score line. So I'm just going to put a 1/2 inch score line there. And that's where it's going to adhere to my back cover. So I'm just going to give that a score and a burnish. Now on my sample cover, on both of these actually, I did round the corners. So it's easier to do that before you put everything in. You don't have to round the corners, but if you're going to round the corners, do that now. I'll leave this one square just to see the difference. So I'm just going to glue that 1/2 inch scored piece and adhere that to my back cover. Just burnish that down. Okay, so now to finish it off, one of the pieces that was an offcut was this piece, which is exactly the same height. This was cut from the end of this trifold piece, so I think that was that piece there. So it's the exact height of the journal, and if I wanted to, I could easily have this as my binding, so I could score that at about 3/8 of an inch and then score between to make that a wraparound paper binding, or I could cut that into strips like I did with this one and have it wrap around to have the open spine, or I could leave that as a pocket, that piece as a pocket, because it fits perfectly in there, and then use fabric, which I'll do. I've got this also in the pink, so I'm going to do that, but you've got options with that. So I'll put the cover or the front cover on. So I just want to, where this fibre starts fraying, I want the glue to be to the left of all the fraying. So I'm just going to put glue on this one. The beauty of doing the fabric cover is that if you don't overfill the journal, it will just lay flat like this one. So if I don't overfill it, it just flattens and softens, whereas this one will stay quite stiff and not bend, so the journal will stay that thickness. So I'm going to do that and then sit that the way that I want it, make sure it's up the right way, and then put glue on my back cover. And make sure the glue that you're using is one that will adhere fabric to it. So I'm just going to sit that in place, make sure everything's nice and square, and then fold my cover over. Again, I just want the frayed edge to be outside of the glue area. And then trim that down. Just trim it slightly longer than the journal, and then when that glue dries, I'll fray that bottom bit. So that's the basis of the journal done. And then I've got these two pieces left that I can cut up into pockets, and you can do whatever you like. This one seems to be either perfect for a belly band or for a side pocket somewhere. So maybe think about where you're going to have the journal part. So there are two options, you could use both. So I've put the journal papers in this first fold on this one and in the second fold on the other one. You could put them in both. So if you're going to do that, if I was going to put the papers there, I'd probably want to put this pocket probably on this side. So let's do that. I'm just going to grab my punch and mark a little notch out there, and I'm just going to put a little bit of ink just on that bit. So that's going to be that pocket there. And then you've got whatever you'd like. So I've used corner pockets and belly bands and bottom tuck pockets and side tuck pockets. So whatever your options are, I'm just going to glue that in there. So that would be where I stitch the journal, and I'll just show you the two different ways I've done that. On this one I have just, if I go to the center, I just put my papers where I wanted them, and I stapled from the outside so that the rough bits would be on the inside. So that one's just been stapled in, and I don't have a long stapler, so what I use is just this. It's an old piece of foam packaging, and I can just open my book out. I can put my paper down and just staple through it, and then when I lift it out I have to bend the two prongs down, so that works for that. And with this one I have sewn these papers in just using a 3-hole pamphlet stitch, which you can just see there on the outside. So however you're going to attach that. So I would put my papers in there. There's a side pocket there, and then I've got this piece left, and again you can do these bottom tuck pockets like that one. You can do the side tuck pockets like I've done there. There's a triangular corner pocket, and then on the other side I've cut a strip off as a belly band, and I've done another side pocket there. So that was the decorations in that one. And in this one I've got a corner pocket there. I left those two pieces just plain because I liked the image, and then I've got a lift up flap with two pockets. I really like that, it gives you just an extra space, so I might do that for this one as well, with a bottom pocket just in contrasting scrap and a side pocket there and a belly band there. So let's do this. So with what's left here, that's the right height that way, but I need a little bit longer. So if I was to do that, let's do it on the inside cover. So my height of my inside cover is 4 1/8, so I need another half an inch, so I want 4 3/8 in height, and then I think it's exactly 3.5. Let's just check. 3.5. I'll make it slightly less. So I want 4 3/8 by 3.5 out of this piece of scrap. So I want 3.5. I'm just going to go one line back, so 1/16 back, just so that it's not too overwhelming. And then 4 3/16 the other way, so 4 3/8, wasn't it? 1 2 3/8. So just trim that little bit off. Then I want to score this at 4 1/8, because that's the height that I want there, with just enough to tuck down. So 4 1/8 and score it. Actually, I'm not going to do it 4 1/8. I'll show you on this one here. I made that one shorter, so that one's just over 3.5, so that the bottom pocket's visible. So let's do that, 3.5, and then score that there. So that would be my top pocket, so I could have the pretty pink showing, or I could have that other side showing there. I think I'll go with the softer pink. And I will round the corners on this top piece. And when I glue this top piece down, what I might do, because I've got that little bit at the back now, is just leave that as a tuck up. So I'm just going to glue, I'm leaving the one part open, so I'm just going to glue in a U shape along the two sides. And the part that goes across the top. And line that up with the top. Just make sure everything's nicely lined up. So that's my top pocket. I've got a spot to tuck something up that way. Now I need a bottom pocket, and I've only got this much left now that I've done that, but I can use a contrasting colour to make a bottom pocket. So let me just quickly see what I've got in scrap cardboard. That would be okay, so that burgundy colour, I'll use that. So now I want to do the same width, which was just one line under 3 1/2. And then, so that's going to sit like that. And then I just want a little notch cut again. And all I did with this other one, I'll bring this one back, to make the magnetic closure, I just took a piece of ephemera and I put the magnet underneath, place the magnet down and put the piece of ephemera on top on that side, and then I stuck the other magnet on there with glue on the back of it and glued it down, and then I put another piece of ephemera on the top. That way you've only got a thin piece of paper over the magnets and they work really well. So that's all that needs to happen to close that up, and I've still got a piece left, so my journal would go in that side, and then I could have a belly band somewhere here, or more pockets from scrap. So as I showed you, you've got lots of options for decorating and closures. You could easily make that a closure, again just the same as I've done with this one. Cut a little band, glue the back on, and then use some Velcro. So you could do that with this little piece of scrap, or with this one I just put an eyelet in the back cover and tied some string through with a knot, and then just wrap that around. So you've got some options for that, but that's the basis of it. It's a nice simple little journal that you can make, lots of little spaces to tuck things, and you can just make it from one piece of paper that you print out at home.